Hello and welcome to Newsroom. We're live from Islamabad and I'm Sharmeen Ali. Prime Minister Imran Khan in Davos spoke about a number of topics concerning Pakistan, primarily Pakistan's economy, which he said is on now a stable path and is looking forward towards growth after a tough economic period that the country has had to face. And he elaborated on many fronts on that, and we'll be discussing that. And also he spoke about peace and stability for Pakistan, as well as trade and business and investment opportunities. So we'll be talking about that in our program. The Bangladesh cricket team is here for a three-match T20 series at Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore. And this is a sign of how Pakistan has overcome its war against terrorism within our country. It's been a huge battle for Pakistan. The civilians have paid a huge price in the last over almost 2 decades. And naturally, the military and the security forces have also paid a huge price, a lot of sacrifices given by them to bring about this peace and stability, relative peace and stability in our country. Yet there's still a lot of challenges that we face, and what do we now have to look forward to? What more needs to be done? We'll be talking about that in our program as well. And also another story, which is that the International Court of Justice has ordered measures to prevent the genocide of the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, which is a very positive development, and we'll talk about that in more detail later on in the program. So I'll begin with introducing our guest for the program today. We have with us Mr. Umar Farooq, who's a foreign policy expert. Thank you for joining us, sir. And we also have with us Colonel Mohammad Maroof, who's a senior analyst. Thank you, sir, for joining us as well. So we'll begin with the first topic, which is about the Prime Minister in Davos. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
Khan has said he is determined to make Pakistan a welfare state, as he told prominent businessmen in Davos that Pakistan has been put on the right economic track. Addressing the business personalities at Pakistan breakfast meet, the Prime Minister said his government is reviving industries by encouraging and giving industrialists incentives.
We need to return to make it into a welfare state, inclusive development. Our whole idea is now that after the 60s is the second government which is going to spend money on industrialization. We are giving incentives, encouragement. We want to promote industrialization because that will create wealth, and from that wealth creation we want to spend money on the bottom tier of our society.
Despite challenges like corruption, high debt and degeneration of institutions, the Prime Minister said the first year in power has remained remarkable. He said the current account deficit has been reduced by 75%. This success is now reflected in rupee stabilization, rising stock market and foreign investment.
The government facilitates investors, industrialists, makes it easy for them to do business. In our first year, we have gained 28 places in ease of doing business. Improve our governance system. I honestly believe that we will release the potential of our people.
He said the reforms process is painful and takes time to bring change, but said he will stick to it. Imran Khan noted that the country has the potential to excel, given its vast natural resources and the dynamic human resource.
So we heard what the Prime Minister had to say, and he also said that Pakistan inherited the worst economic crisis in history. He was referring to his predecessors, and he said that he also acknowledged that his country was hurting due to the tough economic measures that had to be taken. Let's discuss this now with our guests. So I'll start with you, Umar Farooq Saab. Now, you heard what the Prime Minister had to say. Let's begin with him saying, he said in one of his interviews that Pakistan had inherited one of the worst economic crises, and then the stabilization measures that had to be taken as a requirement of the IMF and FATF, etc. So your comments on this, that he said that he acknowledged that people were hurting due to this as well.
You see, the basic problem is that Pakistani people are facing a lot of economic hardship. Prime Minister has to see things from this perspective. I mean, macro level stability in the economy, foreign exchange reserves are increasing, tax base is widening, all these things, these are good. Export earning are increasing. That these are all good things, but the hardship for the common man is not decreasing.
Right. He said that he has never had to face the kind of public
Yeah.
attitude that he
I
encountered
think
in the
that's
last
the
1 year due
political
to the tough
person in him
economic
speaking.
decisions.
Political person in him speaking, because you see, from a politician's perspective, this is very important that despite all these improvements in the economic conditions of the country, the hardship of the common man are not reducing. They are not coming down.
Colonel Saab, your input in this, what do you feel that, do you see that the common man is going to start seeing the changes in the economy anytime soon?
Thank you very much for inviting me in your program. You know, first of all, as Prime Minister was talking about that our economy is getting better now, I think there are only 4 indicators, economic indicators, which are improving. Number 1 is that dollar is depreciating now. Number 2, current account deficits, they have reduced to around about to 70%. Then your stock market is going up is very rapidly. And fourthly, you can say the foreign direct investment, it is improving. So these are the 4 indicators at the moment, which the Prime Minister was talking about.
Right.
Otherwise the GDP growth, interest rate, and all the you know, this inflation, and then the you can say the currency, you know, the prices of the basic commodities, they are the same. Rather, they are still depreciating. So
That will take maybe a while, maybe a couple of months.
maybe
or a
couple
year
of,
to improve.
but the Prime Minister was talking about these 4. His statement is basing on those 4 indicators. So till the time you have improvement growth rate, you reduce the interest rate, until the time the inflation is reduced and the business activity is started, till that time no common man can have any relief.
Right.
So we have to see, but as people say that every long journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. So we should be very optimistic
Right.
that these 4 indicators, they have shown the improvement. So with the passage of time, the other thing like the interest rate and the prices of basic commodity, prices of oil, prices of gas and things like this, and development activities, trade activity will taking place, so people will get relief, but that will take time. At the
The
moment.
Prime Minister also mentioned that the fact that he had inherited such problems, he said that the current situation that Pakistan is in is due to the fact that there has been a lot of corruption in the past. He mentioned this at Davos, and he said that due to the corruption, you've had a total breakdown of institutions. And he spoke a lot on the state of institutions and how to improve governance. So, Omar Saab,
You see, at the political level, this is an absolutely correct position that the corruption has led to the breakdown of institutions, the reduced capacity of the institution to address the problems of the common man. But at the economic level, I don't think the economic experts don't see any linkage between the deteriorating economic conditions of the country and the corruption of the past rulers. Corruption of the past ruler is a big political problem, but there is no direct linkage between the corruption of the past 10 years and the deteriorating economic condition that we face in the country right now.
okay.
So Prime Minister Imran Khan has been pointing out, even when he was in the opposition, he used to develop this link between the corruption and the deteriorating economic conditions. But the economic expert, when we talk to it as a journalist, I have been doing stories on economic situations in the country, and the economic experts tell us that there is no linkage between the corruption and the deteriorating economic conditions.
Right. So, Colonel Saab, what do you say about that?
I personally, I don't agree with the Prime Minister's point of view. I personally feel that the deterioration economics or political instability in our country, basic reason is not I would say the corruption is byproduct of bad governance. And bad governance is byproduct of state disorder. And what is state disorder? State disorder when the institutions are not working in according to the constitution, like Supreme Court is making the dams, Parliament is not going to make any legislation, and other institutions, they are not also not working in accordance to the constitution. So when this type of state disorder prevails, then you can blame each other. Everybody blames other. otherwise, if you look back to the history, I think 3 to 4 government of Pakistan has been removed basing on the corruption. So those people have come back.
what
Those people
changed,
have.
exactly.
So that means the corruption is not a real reason of being deteriorating economic situation. Basic reason is the state disorder and bad governance. And unless you, I'm giving you an example, like our parliament. If the parliament has to work for legislation and to have a bill for the reforms, and if there is no consensus in the parliament, how can you make the law? How can you make the institution strong? So recently, as you have seen, the stalemate on the Chief Election Commission, it prevailed for 3 to 4 months. So this is how institutions get more stronger when they work in harmony. There is a harmony in the parliament, and both opposition, government and other institutions, they support the parliament, and parliament give the decision and they make the legislation. And unless this political process goes on continuously for maybe for 1 or 2 decades, we cannot think of having good environment in our country.
Right. So for all these problems, what would you say is the antidote? Would it be meritocracy that the Prime Minister keeps talking about?
You see, whenever there is democracy before a stable, working, functioning administrative system, when democracy comes to a country where there is no stable and functioning administrative system, this kind of situation prevails. This is what Francis Fukuyama has written in his book on political order and political decay. He says that whenever there is democracy before a stable, functioning political administrative system, there is anarchy, there is chaos.
Okay, right, okay. So now the Prime Minister also says that in 2020 Pakistan is looking towards economic growth. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline right now. There's a lot of different projects, there's CPEC, there's all the different changes that the Prime Minister is trying to bring about in the business environment and ease of doing business index, all of that, Pakistan's movement in that. So, Colonel Saab, your input on this, do you think it's going to be a year of growth? At least it should be a decade of growth, but what about 2020?
So far, I don't find any indicator basing on which we can be optimistic that there will be some change or there will be some relief for common man and there will be some development. Nevertheless, we should be very, very hopeful that as Prime Minister is saying, and whatever he sees, probably he may be right. But so far, what we see in last 15 to 16 months, the present government, they have made so many promises, they have given so many fruit, they have shown so many good things to the people, but nothing has happened so far. So far, everything is under pressure. People are under pressure. People are facing a lot many difficulties. But as we have seen, that 4 indicators that I have earlier mentioned, they have improved. So maybe as Prime Minister has gone to different economic institutions also for the help, and he is also trying to bring the reforms also, and he is trying to low down his tone, and he's accommodating the opposition also, he's accommodating the institutions also, and he's trying to bring down the temperature, political temperature also. So under those circumstances, one can always think that maybe some improvement could be there.
Right.
But unless you concentrate on the growth rate, GDP rate, GDP growth, because economics experts, they say that when your GDP growth rate is around 5 to 6, only then you can provide the employment, then you can provide the relief to the people, and then only then the development can take place, only then the business activity can take place. And unless all these activities are not taking place, how can we think of that some relief will be given other than that you are making some these shelters, that government is making where you can provide the food to the poor people. But this is not a permanent solution. The permanent solution is that you have to have a strong base of institutionalization, strong base of your economics activities, which include the business, which include the trade, which include the development. And of course, then political stability also. And if we see that the strategy of government is now changing, they are going on the reconciliation with the opposition and all the, so with this stability one can expect that something.
Right.
I
now-
think about the political situation in the country. I mean, before we go on to economic growth and economic stability and financial stability, we have to resolve some of the basic political problems that the country is facing right now. I mean, Prime Minister has to develop a working relationship with the opposition political parties.
Right.
And that's the basic for the functioning of a parliamentary democracy.
Right,
Without
okay.
it, no parliamentary democracy can function.
So political stability is a must. He also said that you cannot make your economy grow unless and until there is peace and stability. Now, Pakistan has faced a lot of challenges, still facing them right now, where regional peace and stability is concerned. Sir, I'll ask Colonel Saab this question. Being
Yes, this is very
defense,
important.
Right.
Day before yesterday, the American state, state secretary came to Pakistan, his name is
Alice Wells.
Alice Wells. So she have very deeply and criticized on CPEC. So this is also a major problem that Pakistan is under international conspiracies. American and other Western countries, and particularly India, they don't like CPEC to progress. So whereas we say that this is a game changer. Pakistanis say this is a game changer, whereas the American and Indian and all those people, they think that this is not good for their future. Because CPEC is a really game changer, because from CPEC Pakistan maybe get fruit of 20%, the 70% will be going to the China. And China is getting he's going to be a superpower within next decade or so. So this is a great threat to the American.
Right. Regional dynamics are changing.
Yes. Regional dynamic. So here Pakistan is under you can say the pressure from American side, whereas we cannot leave or set aside the CPEC. Although in last 15 months the progress on CPEC has slowed down tremendously. But now probably the government has realized that we have to speed up the progress on CPEC.
Because it's a key element in
Yes, it's a
Pakistan's
key
progress
element.
economically
Yes,
going into the future. He also said that Pakistan will only partner with another country in peace. We will not become part of any conflict. Now, Omar Saab, your comments on this, because there's a situation with the United States and Iran, and then Iran and Saudi Arabia, and then you also have, he spoke in depth about Afghanistan, which we'll also get into. But Pakistan has faced so many regional issues on multiple fronts.
Before I answer your question, I want to make a brief comment about the personality of Prime Minister Imran Khan. I think I have always believed that Prime Minister Imran Khan can be that foreign policy Prime Minister of the country. We need to have a foreign policy Prime Minister of the country, because you see he's very articulate, very thoughtful, international stature, and very well considered opinions about political issues that Pakistan is facing. So he is ideally suited to be that person, that personality who can become the foreign policy Prime Minister. But unfortunately, we have a kind of a situation at the domestic level that doesn't allow him to devote much time to foreign policy. But anyway, I'll answer your question now. You see, the world needs to know that Pakistan is conducting two peace projects. One, a peace project between Afghan Taliban and Afghan government that is happening under Pakistan's auspices. The other peace project is between Iran and America. There's the conflict. There is an impending conflict. There's a possibility of conflict is great, and Pakistan is running a peace project there as well. So the Prime Minister is very apt in describing both these two peace projects to the world at the Davos summit meeting. And I think Pakistan need to project whatever Pakistan is doing at this level.
Right, exactly. And he's also talked in depth about how he's tried to obviously bring about the peace deal between the United States and Afghanistan, the Taliban particularly. So that peace deal is almost there now. We know that we're very close to that at the moment. So, Colonel Sab, your input on this. Pakistan has done a lot of effort where that is concerned, and the United States has acknowledged that, and that is something, a very big achievement.
Yes, I totally agree with you. In fact, in Afghanistan, the American who are calling Pakistan very close friend now. Earlier, you know, there was a lot of tension between Pakistan and America. Because America is bogged down in Afghanistan, and you want to go away, and I think they are tired now on fighting in the Afghanistan. So by hook or by crook, they want to get rid of this war, and the only way forward, the only way out was Pakistan. So that's why they are trying to please Pakistan at the moment. Pakistan has done a lot of work in resolving this issue and bringing both the parties on the table, and then formulating that formula to resolve this issue. And probably in next month or so, or maybe 2 months, they are going to conclude this, hopefully, this agreement.
And
But
a lot of the effort, like the peace talks were stalled for some time,
Yes,
but
for some
then
time.
when the prisoner exchange took place,
Yes.
which also Pakistan had a huge hand
Yes.
in, that resumed the peace talks.
In fact, at every stage of this process, Pakistan was instrumental. But unfortunately, I would say that Pakistan has not been given those reward accordingly. This is very unfortunate, because all the time the international community, they are keeping sword on the head of Pakistan, that's FATF. And things like that. Then on the second side, India, they are pressurizing Pakistan, and now they have, as you have seen that on 5th of August, they have annexed Kashmir with the India, and no relief has been given to Kashmiris, not to Pakistan. So I think when Pakistan is doing a lot for America, when Pakistan is doing for the peace of the region, Pakistan must be rewarded accordingly. This is very unfortunate. And now I must appreciate government in taking a very good stance as far as the American and Iran issue is concerned. Pakistan said we will not be party to anyone. And that was a very good, they remain impartial. And now you have seen Pakistan foreign minister has gone to Tehran, they have gone to Riyadh, and they have cooled down the situation. If it has not been resolved totally, but definitely they have cooled down the situation. This is a great job they are doing to the region. They have got great job doing to the American and the other international community.
Right.
But Pakistan, again, I would say that Pakistan is not being rewarded accordingly. This is very unfortunate,
Yes.
and we have to concentrate on this issue.
And particular with assistance with Afghanistan and repatriation of refugees and the border fencing and all, Pakistan can use a lot. All the
There
help
are
it
so
can
many
get.
things
We've
in
got
which
such-
Pakistan can be rewarded.
With,
There are
with the limitation on resources that the country is, suffering economically at the moment, struggling actually. But Prime Minister Imran Khan also had a lot to say about India, and he said that if relations with India were to be normalized, then there could be a huge potential of trade between the two countries, and the economy would benefit for both the countries. He said some very positive terms about India, but at the same time he also said what the troubles he's had to face since he's come into power. And it's almost since day one, Prime Minister Imran Khan is facing a lot of aggression from Prime Minister Modi's regime, sir.
Yeah. Yes, you see, there is a very unfortunate reality that exists in the relations between Pakistan and India, that unfortunately the political contact at the top level between the prime ministers of Pakistan and India have been discontinued because of various political and military reasons. Military tensions and political tensions have much to do with this. But I think this is very unfortunate, because in times of crisis, in the times of military or political tensions, the temperatures usually rise in such situations. And the only two persons that can control, that can bring down the political and military temperature are the prime ministers of two countries. That has happened in the past, at the time of when Musharraf was in power in Pakistan and Vajpayee was the Prime Minister there. In the wake of attack on the parliament, they used to talk directly on the telephone, or they used to have a meeting on the sidelines of some summit meeting, at the SARC summit meeting or in the New York, and all these meetings used to reduce the tensions, reduce the temperature between the two countries, the
Right.
military and the political temperature.
Right, because he said you cannot have two nuclear armed countries even contemplating a conflict, sir. So this naturally, everybody agrees on that. And later this year, India will be inviting Prime Minister Imran Khan for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting there. So do you think that there's potential for talks to go further over there?
I would highlight the background of this entire story. In fact, in India, for last couple of years, this you can say the religious extremism is increasing day by day. And now, unfortunately, this Modi has been part of the RSS. So he is trying to make India as a totally Hindu dominated society, Hindu dominated country. So that and during the election, he raised this slogan, and he has been successful. That's why he got clear majority in the parliament. Now he is trying to please those people, and virtually he is trying to create such type of situation whereby he is putting pressure on the Pakistan, then he is putting pressure on the Muslim, then he is annexing Kashmir with India. So I think presently whatever we see the environment in this region, I don't think it is useless to talk with India at the moment, because they are trying to jeopardize the entire peace of the region. They are trying to highlight their own agenda. So under those circumstances, I personally feel if we try to beg and if we try to have a reconciliation with India, they are even getting worse and worse day by day.
Right. And there's been tensions across the line of control. We know
Yes.
that there's been a lot of ceasefire violations by the Indians as well since August 5th, since the revocation of Article 370 and 35A. And the Prime Minister also said that I just think that the path with which India is going on is a disaster for India. And, again, he compared, Prime Minister Modi's government with saying that it bears a striking resemblance to Nazi Germany, Umar Saab.
You see, relations between two nation states are different from intercommunal relations between Muslims and Hindus in the context of subcontinent. You see, there has to be different. The dynamics has to be different, because you see, if you start treating India-Pakistan relations from a communal perspective, there will be lots of problems. It will become the relations become very problematic. What Indians are doing inside India is very bad for India itself, but it is none of our concern.
Right.
You see, what we are doing in Pakistan should be none of their concern. What we are doing is not very good. We are not treating about minorities in a very, very good manner. But that is our concern. That's a problem for us to resolve, not for the Indians to comment upon.
Right.
And similarly, it's not for us to comment on what Indians are doing inside India. That's very
But it
bad.
does have a
Very bad.
spillover effect.
I'm saying that's very bad what they are doing, and that is bad for their own country. That is bad for the stability of their country. But that should not influence Pak-India relationship. That's my point.
That's absolutely 100% correct, because sir, yes, your comment on this?
But I would say that at the moment, because we always, ever since the inception of Pakistan, we say that the Kashmir is jugular of Pakistan. So if we have to think of Kashmir, this also relate to the Muslim community living in the India also. And that's why our sentiment and our the affiliation with those peoples are there. One thing. Secondly, I would comment on that the process that Modi has started at the moment. I can tell you one thing, that no one can change the history process of history and natural process. Whenever you press, whenever you subjugate the minorities or other communities, that is a start of disintegration of that country.
Absolutely right. So, and as a final thought now, the Prime Minister also said that his government is probably the first one that has been totally supported by the military, and then there's no difference between the civil and military leaderships. And, you know, cohesiveness of institutions. We know that political stability you spoke about is very important, and institutions working together is also very important. Umar Saab, your final thoughts on this?
Yes, I think this is a very problematic statement. Pakistani politics is very messy, and when you portray army as siding with one government or one political party or the government of one political party, this gives rise to a lot of political problems inside the country, because then other political parties will claim the same level of attachment with the military, or the same level of, they will expect the same level of support from the military, and they are, I think.
Well, his clarification on that was that the previous political parties, they had tensions with the military because they were aware of the corruption. So, sir,
whatever Umar Saab says is intellectually and academically is perfect right. But looking at the ground reality, when we see that ground reality, so our political process or our politics is very complex. So we have seen that whenever there is a difference and whenever there is some problem or some upheaval in the relationship between the army and civil government, so the country has suffered.
Yes.
I think he is right, because
It's
you can
necessary.
only run state affairs when you have a harmony in the civil government and as well as the military. Although military is a part and one organ of the state, but in Pakistan, this is a third world country, the role of military has been different. We have seen differently. So looking at that perspective, you have to have harmony with the army. Otherwise, it is very difficult to run affairs of the state.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, both of our guests, Colonel Maroof and Omar Saab, for joining us on our program. And now we're just going to talk a little bit about the Bangladeshi cricket team, which is visiting for a match in Lahore at Gaddafi Stadium. And we have online with us Ahmed Nawaz, who is the host of the sports program in PTV World. Thank you for joining us online, Ahmed.
Thank you for having me, Shamil.
Ahmed, we've talked about this before when the Sri Lankan team was here. Also, this is, you know, a huge step forward for Pakistan, with now the Bangladeshi cricket team also here for their T20 matches. Your comments on that?
Well, it is certainly, I think, a big occasion for Pakistan. Of course, let's just recap the clock a little bit. We know that this tour was in jeopardy because the Bangladesh Cricket Board was not agreeing, claiming that they had security concerns. However, these appeared to be false claims at that time, even because we just recently had the tour of Sri Lanka, a team that was already targeted 10 years back in the horrific incident that stopped international cricket in Pakistan. Besides that, Pakistan has been hosting international events regularly, with the World 11 coming, West Indies coming for a T20 series. Before that, PSL final and semi-finals were also held in this edition of the PSL entirely in Pakistan in just a month about of time. So I think all the arrangements were, everything was necessary. It was just delaying tactics by the Bangladesh Cricket Board. But it was good that the ICC intervened. We have to give a lot of credit to the chairman BCB Ehsan Mani Saab and of course the chief executive Wasim Khan, who went to that ICC meeting. Shashank Manohar came in. He also talked to the BCB and convinced them to take a tour to Pakistan. And finally, we have that on the cards.
Right. And what is the fans, like, what is the energy like right now amongst the cricket fans now that these matches are going to be starting in Lahore?
Oh, pretty energetic, because we've got 3 T20s. The first one starting from tomorrow, then the second one is on Saturday, then there's a break of 1 day, and then the third one on Monday. Of course, this is a very important series for Pakistan because they must win all the 3 games to retain their position as the #1 side in the world in T20 cricket. Because if they lose one, Australia will overtake them. The fans are very excited. Lahore has always lived up to the expectation. We saw tickets selling out as quickly as possible online. And obviously, there's a lot of fervor. We talked to a couple of people in Lahore as well, the fans who are elsewhere in the country. They're very, very excited. Of course, this is the first phase of this tour. This will be happening in 3 phases. Bangladesh will leave for their own country after the series, then come back again for a first test match in Rawalpindi. So it's getting quite fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much, Ahmed Nawaz, for giving your insights on this very important development, the Bangladeshi cricket team visiting Pakistan. Also on our next story, there's a very big development as far as the Rohingya crisis is concerned in Myanmar. The International Court of Justice has ordered measures to prevent the genocide of the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. Now, the decision came despite the fact that the leader, Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi, she defended her country and she said that the whole genocide against the Rohingyas was due to militancy, and she justified it per that. And she also said that the military campaign was waged to tackle an extremist threat in the country, and also she said that it was due to an internal armed conflict triggered by Rohingya militant attacks on government security posts. Now, the measures this judgment is going to be binding on Myanmar. So, what in practical terms that the government is going to do in that country is yet to be seen. However, it is a very serious judgment indeed. And the fact that this case was brought to the International Court of Justice by Gambia was a huge development as well. And now this judgment is a very good, positive step in the right direction in order to halt this genocide that we've been seeing happen over the last couple of years. So that's all for our program today. And I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us on Newsroom, and we'll see you next time.